It was really cool to get sort of an Arnold publicity tour again and have him do everything, do all the podcasts, listen to him talk for an hour this time instead of 5 minutes.
He's gotten even better with age. Like he could do a TED talk and he would kill it.
Yeah.
So we got Gil and Mike back in the studio. How are you all?
Doing good.
I had to leave watching a Tigers Red Sox game that is very interesting. That's all I want to say about it.
Was Arnold out there?
You
Gilly man, you're not playing the way you should.
Stephen King maybe, but I don't know about Arnold.
Oreo's back as always. How you been?
Yes, I am. I am good, actually.
Shahi Sabzevari from the Arnold Fans podcast and website. How are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic. Get down, come on. I'm so pumped up to talk about all Terminator good stuff, video games, comic books, you name it. I'm very excited. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Totally. We have a really exclusive guest. We got returning guest, horror anthology contributor, and Never Surrender, a Galaxy Quest documentary creator, Jack Bennett, here with us tonight. So
absolute pleasure to be here.
There's an Arnold connection to that.
I unfortunately don't have. That is true, and I unfortunately don't have any Terminator.
No, it's fine. I dig that's Mortal Kombat.
I thought
Conan.
Mortal Kombat.
Oh, Conan. Okay, yeah, I couldn't see the.
Two snakes facing each other.
Two fakes. Yeah, two snakes facing each other. As you say, a standard, a sigil. Yeah.
That would be amazing. So, have you guys ever seen the movie The Villain?
Oh yeah,
that's the one where he plays
Douglas.
The Western
aging Kirk Douglas and Margaret with Looney Tunes type sound effects. But I always, in my mind, I know it was years before, but I was always like, "What if the Terminator traveled to the wrong time period? Oh, what are they doing?"
You haven't lived until you've seen Arnold wearing a powder blue cowboy outfit.
Oh man. He looks very confused. He's just like, what am I doing here? But
I like his dancing shit with the beer that he was promoting back in the day. That shit was funny.
It really was. I take it I know Conan used to show celebrities in crazy Japanese ads. I take it, did you ever see his Japanese one where there's all these
that was some wild shit.
Some animated confetti and other stuff, and he's just howling. He usually does his Arnold laugh, but he's like howling.
And unlike certain Hollywood stars, he would actually learn the Japanese. He clearly learned it phonetically, and it was just in little bits. But I remember him going, Yosh, poi poi! And just crazy every cliche.
He has all these language coaches with him, so he's on it. He wants to not limit his fan base, which is cool because I see other celebs who are like, I'll learn it, but I'm gonna half-ass it really.
So his are the best. I think they're the best Japanese. It's almost become a cliche at this point. All those jokes about how weird Japanese commercials are. Then you watch his, and they absolutely are that weird. Yeah.
So the Galaxy Quest connection to Arnold is Harold Ramis was originally supposed to helm it.
Oh, wow.
And I wonder if Arnold would have been a creature or the bad guy in makeup for him. That would have been fun.
That's not surprising, though, because Harold has done very random projects to his career.
Right?
Nah.
And even as a producer, you're like, yeah, that checks out. It has that kind of mentality to it. You see Private Parts and the Trailer Park Boys movie, you're like, yeah, I see why you put your name on that, Harold. That makes sense.
Does anybody know who dubbed his voice in Hercules in New York?
I do. Well, actually, so not for that one, but I do know his current dubber. You're gonna love this. Is Jürgen Prochnow, the Das Boot boat captain?
Oh, okay.
But you'll find this funny. Jürgen Prochnow also dubs Stallone in German. So as a result, when Escape Plan came out, people were very confused as to who's talking.
He was the guy in Demolition Man, right? Played one of the judges.
No.
Legendary character actor, German character actor.
Yeah, if you've seen Dune or Wing Commander or Beverly Hills Cop 2, he's always just the go-to German bad guy who's just...
Or Beer Fest, Broken Lizard's Beer Fest
24. Anytime you see him...
They had to ask him to pronounce his S's SH. They're like, no, you say like Stable Boy, like you Germans do. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
Busts his mouth.
He has that blonde hair. But each time you see him, kind of like Rutger Hauer, you're like, this is too good to be true. He's going to probably be a traitor.
He also played the older Arnold in a TV movie called See Arnold Run.
Yes.
Where they
Oh
had,
man, I'm loving these deep cuts. I remember that came out on A&E, and
I think the younger Arnold is played by the guy who was his body double.
yeah,
in the
and
later Terminator movies.
Salvation and Genesis, Roland Kickinger, and
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, the guy from South Beach.
That's right. That's right.
He did do some soap operas. I love these deep cuts. And see, this is why we all get along. We live and breathe this IMDb. Like, we soak it up like a sponge, and we don't.
I'm thinking that after Hercules in New York, he made sure he was going to do the voices. That's probably why he started getting.
He kind of did. I think...
Wasn't that a guy named Arnold Strong?
That's right.
What a good
that's right.
incident.
That was his build name in that too, wasn't it?
Yep.
It was. Did the villain come out after Stay Hungry? I think Stay Hungry was his first.
I think you're right. 79,
the Bob
and that
Rafelson
was
movie.
78. But don't you love how you got a Golden Globe nom for being Jeff Bridges' friend? You know, that's a great start.
And I think
Sally
he even
Field in it,
said,
too.
Yes,
for sure. I think he even said, I really got the Golden Globe for Pumping Iron, because those came out in the same year. So what he was saying was they saw how charismatic I was in Pumping Iron, and then he thought it was sort of like Diane Keaton getting the Oscar because Annie Hall and
Scorsese getting it for Departed when you should have gotten it for earlier achievement. You know, it's you get it eventually.
More like when I bring up the Diane Keaton thing, it's because in the same year she did Annie Hall and Looking for Mr. Goodbar. So it was like she got the Oscar for Annie Hall, but it was really for both of those things. So with Schwarzenegger, it's he got a Golden Globe for Best Newcomer.
A few questionable ones where I think, what was it, Jamie Foxx got like Best Supporting and Best Lead the same year in like 2005, you know,
for sure.
Like for Ray and Collateral, and so it's just like it's got to be tough to just do any of this billing. Like, no, don't you? I'm sure Shahi might remember this. Do you remember when The Martian was getting a nom for like Best Comedy and Ray Scott's like?
I remember when people thought he was actually stuck on Mars and they were trying to figure out how to get him back home.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
No, I do. I remember that. It's like that just shows you how real the documentary format is for people. I'm like, oh, people, please reread.
It's a fucking movie. That'd
be like if
studio.
I don't know if they thought Galaxy Quest was real. Oh.
Another one is Timothy Hutton, Best Supporting Actor for Ordinary People. He's the lead actor.
He's the lead actor.
Yeah. He just did that because Judd Hirsch was older than him or something.
It's kind of like with the whole Dark Knight, Training Day, or Silence of the Lambs thing, where the villain outshines the rest of the movie to where they're like, I guess they're the lead, even though they're technically second.
Supporting.
They submit for the award that they think they have the best chance of winning. Yeah, and that's really what it is.
And if you look at
technically, it should be the most dialogue is the best, or the
most dialogue indeed.
Well, I really like something that Ray Seahorn said about Better Call Saul when she got nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Great actress. So
she's the MVP of that show in a show full of.
They totally ignored her, and like The Bear and Succession won everything. I'm like, come on, guys, give 2 awards to
for sure. But also you watch that show and it's like it's wall to wall great performances, and I still think she's the best one.
Mm-hmm.
However, she said, when they asked her, how do you feel about being nominated for Best Supporting Actor? She said, well, in my mind, there's one lead and then everybody else is supporting. So Bob's the lead and everybody else is supporting. She had a really good
egos. Yeah,
she had a great attitude about it. And anybody here see the first Terminator first, or did anybody see the second one first?
Oh, always
second first.
Oh, I saw second first. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon.
It was on it was on a VHS top loader on a black and white TV. That's the first time I saw the first one.
How to play in black and white.
It was all right.
To put the noir in tech noir, I guess.
You're right. It's either that or Blade Runner. Yeah, tech noir. Yeah.
I remember seeing that first one on VHS. That became one of those. Well, it became one of those movies that, you know, my parents would go out and my younger brother and I would be left at home, and
Let's go movies ransack the VHS collection.
100%.
We would HBO recordings.
Me think about how when we were growing up, The Road Warrior and The Terminator were movies that we watched over and over again, and we're like 10 and 7.
The first one wasn't widely available
but it's these nihilistic sci-fi movies. They really, and then a little bit later, it was
cynical in a way.
Sure, but there's something to that.
At the very end.
We thought that was awesome. We're watching this movie where the hero dies, and we're like, "Oh, that's so cool! No other movie does that."
And it was so confusing when you first see it. You're like, "Wait, what did he die from? Oh, the bullet wound. I thought he blew himself up with the dynamite." And it was
I just rewatched the first two movies in preparation for this. In the last week, I watched the first two.
Dude. And isn't it wild how kind of like classic Star Trek, they never get old? Like I was joking with Gil and Mike how they also understand time travel. They don't do it to death. Like they explain it to you in a nutshell and say, go with it. If we linger on it too long, we open up the plot hole gate, and you don't want that.
That's kind of the problem that fell in with the last, 3-4 movies?
Yeah. They lean on it too hard.
Because I do want to ask
our favorite moments tonight.
For the guys who saw Terminator first, who saw the Terminator first, like myself, do you remember what your impression was of that first movie? Do you remember how it affected you?
I was freaked out.
I was blown away by it myself.
It's stop motion, and yet there's just this thing about it. Just you get the 80s slasher quality when you're paying more attention to it, but like just the whole uneasiness, those lingering shots of the garage, you're like, ooh.
Well, and the music was very discordant in that too. It was very
sure, yeah.
So it hyped up the tension some.
Brad Fidel, it's one of those, he does not get enough recognition. Like I have a rare CD of Let's Get Harry. Like I love to hunt down all his movie scores for other decent underrated movies, but he understood these two. I think the first one he wanted to make, creepy and build the atmosphere, but much like those have the same director, editor, cinematographer. He knew what to do when he came down to T2, which was, now I want this to make this more intense, but not robotic, so to speak. Like I want to make you feel like you're on the freeway with these guys. You're looking at the LA scenario. Like, some of the music you hear in T2 when he's saying, I'm going to stand guard, and it's kind of like the Star Wars Fate effect. It'd be cheesy if anybody else did it, but I just love it. You don't have a cutaway. You just see him looking outside the door, bullet shells and everything, and he's just standing there.
The second movie really does go into this gigantic action spectacle.
It's LA noir.
But when you watch that first movie, it's the only movie I can think of when we were kids, and none of us had fired a gun before or anything. Like it's one of the few. It's one of the few gun movies I can think of,
right?
That was unsettling. And I mean like genre movies. Like usually you see
it's very high noonish. Yeah,
well, sure, but like you see like a Predator, and every character has a different gun, and you're like a kid watching and going like, oh, he's got that cool gun, he's got that. This is the only one I can think of where it was an action movie, it was a gun movie, but it was scary.
Yes.
It legit unsettled me.
Don't ever listen to the score for T2 at night. You will get nightmares. Trust me. I almost crashed my work car when I was listening to it.
Well, it was almost, as far as the gunplay, it was almost like a ballet with the gunplay for the first time that I'd ever seen.
Much like that in The Matrix, like they respect the audience. I love how, like, look at Lethal Weapon 1. The car chase at the end serves the movie. You look at the sequels, fun, or like them, don't like them, take the car chases out, nothing changes. So like, I love it when people are like giving an exposition dump while they're loading the gun, and while they're, hacking into a computer mainframe, while they're setting up traps. You want to do two things at once so we don't get bored,
watching.
But speaking of that choreography thing, like that idea when you say gunplay, I think you can draw a correlation. Terminator comes out in 1984. You can probably draw a correlation between like the
bar. Back to the Future.
Well, that was 85.
Transfers.
Yeah. But Terminator, you can draw a correlation between the shootout in the bar, and then that going into the mind of a younger John Woo in Hong Kong, and then
absolutely
that translates into all this balletic gunplay that then became his signature. I think the opening scene of Hard Boiled, maybe there is an evolution there. I'm absolutely speculating, but maybe there is an evolution there of, well, I saw the way Cameron played with perspective, and he played with the call and response of the gun shots going back and forth. all that sort of stuff.
And the fact that we're all still talking about these over 30-year-old movies and we find something new on each viewing, that is a good movie. Like, I still every once in a while will encounter people, they don't think much of these movies. They just think, oh yeah, I saw it once upon a time, cool popcorn. Like, well, please rewatch it. Like, but it's better than you remember it. I'm not saying popcorn movies are bad necessarily. I'm just saying it's deeper than you're giving it credit for. You know, it's not.
What really struck me rewatching it the other night was how committed all the actors are, and especially Michael Biehn. But you have someone like Paul Winfield, who was a legendary actor himself.
It's about trust. Like, trust me, this doesn't make sense, but I'm not. I mean, the fact that much like Candyman, you have the heroine escaping a psych ward. She has used up her trust points. People just think she's nuts. How do you get people to trust you in something that you have no proof of? Like anybody who she knows either gets killed or everyone's just like, I'm having a bad night. I had too many liquors.
Yeah, the only guy that she can trust is the guy who keeps saying, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
And maybe survives long enough to say, like, okay, you're the only guy who can help me.
That's the real fear, It's like
he plays that part with the intensity of like a guy who just got out of combat, a guy who, there's a moment when he's in the police station, they ask him how the time travel works, and he goes, I don't know. Like, he's so
yes,
single-minded. And then my favorite part in that,
and it's
scene,
not a cop-out. Like,
it's not a cop-out. He wouldn't know.
I had the programmer do all this shit for me, and now I'm here. I'm the resistance fighter later. I'm not.
My favorite moment in that scene is as he's talking, the guy says, I can't do that. And he says, well, then who's an authority here? And as he's talking, the psychiatrist starts to talk again, and Reese just goes, shut up! And then he, into the camera, doom says the rest. But that, like, this guy is on the edge the whole
It was really clever with that. And everyone should watch it also just for the guerrilla filmmaking aspect alone. Like, they're filming this low-budget movie without permits.
Yeah, Corman style.
Roger Corman style, rest in peace. And I guarantee you, Corman probably wishes, oh man, why didn't I produce that?
Did he ever try to do something similar?
Surprisingly, no. He did. He pretty much just got on the Alien and Star Wars knockoff bandwagon. Maybe the closest you got is Chopping Mall, but that's more just goofy, people being hunted.
Yeah, I guess. Well, actually, James Cameron did the Piranha 2: The Spawning, right?
That's right.
He snuck in and got fired, and surprisingly, Corman didn't have any control over the Piranha franchise. It was one of those, he got in bad with the Japanese investors, and he had to surrender that property. So,
and of course, Cameron has disowned Piranha, and he says that's not even one of my movies because it doesn't begin with an A or a T. That's how you can tell that's not a real James Cameron movie. Or I was talking about that with somebody recently. For a long time, James Cameron was going to direct Battle Angel Alita, but if he had done it, it would have been Alita : Battle Angel.
I wasn't surprised when he gave it to Rodriguez, since James gets along with everybody. Like, you see him hanging out with Michael Bay and all these other filmmakers.
He produced that version of Solaris that Steven Soderbergh directed, which is far from a James Cameron movie.
That's why I wanted to see it. I saw it from producer James Cameron. I knew Soderbergh, but you couldn't watch many of his movies other than Ocean's 11. When you're a teen.
If you listen to them talk on the commentary track, you can see how much James Cameron appreciates what Soderbergh did, but he couldn't direct it because it starts with an S.
We think of him as this ego-headed dick, but really he is there to collaborate. Like, I'm sure you've heard how he and Tim Miller was like, they were cool for an hour, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to step out of the editing room now because you and I are now differing, and it's your movie. I'm a consultant. It's funny how everyone's got their limit, but he really is down to collaborate, unlike, say, someone like De Palma or Coppola, who's going to be like, hands off, buddy.
I think it's interesting that
like George Lucas, we love him, we hate some of what he's done, but same kind of deal. Like, he's going to tell you, oh, you got to take a big step back. You can't come near me.
I think it's interesting that he doesn't fuck with other letters than A and T. Like, those are the two he'll fuck with in the alphabet. All the other 24 he stays away from. But he'll produce. He'll help produce. It's a superstitious thing.
I've never noticed that. That's actually true then?
Titanic.
Yeah.
Alien,
Terminator.
True Lies.
Aliens.
Avatar.
And if you count the as a T, the abyss, but also abyss with an A.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm a librarian, so I don't count that.
Yeah,
That's
near dark.
interesting.
You skip to the.
That's why he didn't. He wanted to direct the remake of Planet of the Apes. He was like, I can't do it.
I forgot he was attached to that. Did I ever tell you
okay.
about the Spider-Man movie he did?
That's in Tech Noir book.
So, for those who don't know, he was going to do, shout out to Real Comic Heroes, love you, Travis Bow. He did a roundtable like where they reenacted it and they spoke as the original casted actors would have been. They used a draft where DiCaprio was Spider-Man.
Oh, wow.
I only knew how Charlie Sheen was attached to it for the longest time, which would have made sense to me, but Arnold was going to play Doc Ock.
I think Charlie was pitching himself. I don't think he was ever actually attached. Charlie wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Well, he probably would have been better than
Tiger.
Mr. Freeze.
There you go.
Tiger
He had Tiger blood as opposed to Spidey blood. But yeah,
if you read that Cameron Spider-Man treatment, it is amazing how edgelord he makes Peter Parker. Just like totally an angsty teen.
From what they were reading, I'm like, yeah, this is ambitious. And as much as we love Sam Raimi, you know, Evil Dead is a pioneer of the horror comedy, and Terminator's kind of action sci-fi with a little horror in the first one. But Gil just mentioned Mr. Freeze. Would Mr. Freeze win in a fight against any of these Terminator bots?
That's really a good question.
On the gun.
Just with the puns, I don't know. It's good.
As long as he froze the T-1000 nowhere near molten lava, like or whatever the molten lava factory is in the second movie.
Yeah, downtown LA somewhere. But to the music score, I always get shades of that even when I watch other movies made years later, like Moby's end song that plays in Heat. Just that same kind of deal, just looking at this beautiful world and all the hostility contained within it. Just that factor alone is just.
There's a wonderful motif.
It fits.
Yeah.
Because it's a lightning in the bottle mode. You can't replicate that shit.
Absolutely
you try, but it's not the same.
In fact, I even heard that same song Movie did in a Visa MasterCard commercial the last 2 years. And I always geek out. Everyone's like, what do you mean Heat? I'm like, a song from Heat.
there were definitely synth scores at that time, and you know, John Carpenter and Tangerine Dream and you know, all that sort of stuff was, you know, that was of the time, but that's the first one I can think of that felt muscular. It has that clank in it, and then there's this fantastic motif that he does because it goes bum 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 bum, and that's the big heavy sound. Just perfect. But then over it is da 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 da, which you hear that done with different instrumentations.
It's getting you ready for all the various other conflicts. It's like you don't know what you're getting in for, battles, whatever, you know. But you're ready.
There's a sadness to it too. There's a melancholy to it that I think Brad Fiedel, you know, he brings that into the tone. It sounds relentless, but then there's this kind of wistful thing happening in the higher notes.
Absolutely. I mean, so was Sarah Connor your heroine growing up, guys? You know, for anyone, because like that to me was just like that was like a character I wanted to hang out. I wanted to, the audience member. I want to help you. You know, even though
I mean, at the time, the only other really female action hero I could think of is Sigourney Weaver's character in Alien.
Yes, there you go.
So you only had those
doesn't really do that till True Lies. So, you know. Yeah.
In the first movie, she really is more the damsel in distress, but then when you see that hard edge start to come in, it comes in little places. I just thought in that first movie she was cute as a button, even with that, you know, horrible 80s hair that even she's embarrassed about. They talked about it.
I think I have heard about that. At least she's likable, you know, like, you know, hey, innocent work person, boring waitress job, got some dance studio buddies, working 9 to 5, you know, doesn't want any trouble, you know.
Well, there's a quality to. Go ahead.
I was going to say, she certainly came full circle with that last movie that came out. She had more to do. In fact,
Equalizer now.
Doesn't even show up. Arnold doesn't even show up until about an hour into that movie.
Yeah.
Well, then that's the thing. He was the surprise, but that's the thing about that first movie versus that second movie. You watch that first movie, and I was thinking about how you could have cast a lot of other age-appropriate actors to play that part, to play Sarah Connor. And what she brings to it is, you know, a little bit like what I was talking about with the music. There's a quality. There's an almost tragic quality to her. You know, she's this sexy young woman, but then she's got this faraway look in her eyes. She's got this air of tragedy to her, like almost like a Hamlet kind of figure.
I like this, yeah.
And then when you see that
got a broken kingdom.
Yeah, and then when you see that transform in the second movie into a woman I would not want to fight if my life depended on it. If she's kind of short, and if she sidled up to me, if she was running towards me, I would run the other direction.
Right. I would close down the shop and say, here are all the free Happy Meals.
How did anybody feel about her character being killed off in the third one?
Yeah,
I didn't like that.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't even get the year right.
Yeah.
They can fall back on, but it's.
I'll tell you a good moment.
The future's not set. That's what they'll fall back on.
That is also true. One thing I do like about T3 that I just always thought was just perfect. By the way, you can't even undo this. It's all set in stone ending. I love when Earl Bowen comes back as the psychiatrist. He's helping. He's there to he thinks it's just anything else. Just on lunch break, just consulting hostage negotiation. Then he sees, oh, fuck. This is the same this guy who looks like the same guy that's been here. And he just drops his donut just like that. It's like, see, that was fun. That was...
The way that this series has progressed is so weird because, again, I saw Terminator on VHS when I was a kid.
The comics are so diverse, and you're like, just adapt one of them.
I remember when that first teaser came out for the second movie, the Stan Winston directed teaser, that was just the assembly line. And then at the end, they put flesh on him and it's Arnold. Like, I remember when that teaser came out and we all went nuts. And then we go see the second movie, one of the biggest action movies ever. And at the time, certainly the biggest action movie any of us had ever seen. And then the third movie, I feel like it got made because The Matrix was a success. And they were like, well, what else have we got that's like The Matrix?
Pirates is coming out. Bad Boys 2 is coming out.
But at the time, like looking at even the trailer for that third movie, I was like, but it doesn't have the orange and blue of the cinematography. It doesn't have the same feeling. It doesn't have the same quality. Like, I just rejected it as a ripoff of Terminator 2.
Was Cameron even attached to that?
He refused to come back. So. He you look at the original ending. He was firm. He was not going to take his foot off. He's like, I only want 2 movies. I will do a compromise. I'll keep those open since you are the producers and you've told me what you need, which is an open ending. But in my mind, this is it. And yeah, I don't think he saw it. I know he saw Salvation in a motel while he was shooting Avatar, which has got to be the weirdest way to watch any new blockbuster. And then
the thing though about that third movie is, at the time I was like, yeah, this sucks, and I rejected it entirely. And now I'm looking back, and it's the third best Terminator movie. That's the weirdest part.
I think everything gets better with age or worse with age. It really just depends on the mood. That one is definitely a moody movie, to both its credit and to its discredit. I think
sorry, Cameron. The TV series takes place before the third movie.
Oh, it doesn't acknowledge the third movie.
Oh, okay.
It's an alternate.
It's like parallel.
It's T2. So
okay.
The TV series the TV series was pretty good. Like it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
And that's why they brought the writer back for Dark Fate.
Yeah, it was too bad with the TV series they weren't able to wrap up some of that stuff they'd gotten started on it.
Yeah.
And Thomas Dekker was a perfect John Connor, and he had some great moments.
When I think back to that third movie, my favorite part of it is definitely the ending.
Yeah.
And I remember that when the ending happened, that was kind of a, oh wow, okay, kind of.
I saw it. I want to say late 2010s because it was on TNT for a while, remastered form and everything. And I kid you not, like my mother hadn't seen it in a minute.
Some of the things.
Hold on, like, and I kid you not, like the power of filmmaking, Shiny. Like, she comes on in, my sister's watching it casually, just something cool to do while she's doing a college paper, and they're lowering him into the lava, in order for John to survive. And I see my mother wiping her face away. I'm like, see, that proves. I'd always
shocking.
heard.
It's shocking how emotionally effective that.
I remember feeling sad at it, but I always thought,
the
only
thumb.
certain people. The thumb. Yeah, one thumb up.
The funny thing about that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, funny thing about that scene is that so my son is 4. I probably am gonna get in trouble. Actually, he got in trouble at school, but I showed him Terminator 2. He's obsessed with Arnold. Like recently, he was in school and they asked him like, "Oh, who's your favorite superhero?" All these kids are like Captain America, Superman. He says Arnold.
50, yeah.
He says Arnold, and then like Terminator specifically. But that T2 scene, when I showed him like clips of it on YouTube, I didn't want to show him everything, but he literally started crying, like just like I did back in the theaters
like
back in
Rocky
'91.
4. Yeah,
it's like Rocky 4, and he's like, did Arnold die? I'm like, no, Arnold's not dead. This is Terminator. So
it's the Wrath of Khan moment. You'll always be my friend. It just has that aura. It doesn't matter how many times you've seen it. It's just it doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel melodramatic. It's a rare testament that just because we're a sci-fi blockbuster doesn't mean you can't take us seriously. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Shatner's no, and that is just it's perfect.
Which says a lot.
The way he says that one little word, just it's so right on. Yeah.
Have you seen Leonard Nimoy online making fun of Shatner's performance at the end?
Oh, really?
It's the most affecting thing in the movie. Like when he almost cries, but you see Leonard Nimoy
like best friends pranking each other.
Leonard Nimoy says, and Bill goes, "Out of all my friends, he was the most human." It's Leonard Nimoy making fun of him. In the context of the movie, it's like, I don't care that I know he comes back in the third one. I'll still cry.
Yeah.
But when I was saying the ending is my favorite part, I meant the third movie. In the second movie, my favorite part is definitely, and I wait the whole movie for it every time, when Sarah Connor racks that shotgun with one arm. If I could make one movie with something that cool in it, I will die happy.
Well, because
the fact that she had her twin in there too, that was
her rest in peace.
And,
you would have never known. I always thought it was just a stunt double they dressed up.
I know, because the way it looked like green screen, but no.
Every time there's acting, they clearly switch back to Linda, but it's like every time when she steps out behind, it's the sister, and then it cuts to a close up and it's Linda, and they really clearly planned all that stuff out about
and Debbie Evans,
sister.
For all the weakness,
stunt woman, she's gone on to have a big prolific career too, doubling Sandra Bullock in Speed and Michelle Rodriguez in the Fast and Furious movies.
Oh wow!
And she's like one of the big chairmen, I think, of the stunt guild. I think.
So, oh wow!
For all the weaknesses of that third movie, there was 2 scenes in it I really liked. That was the bathroom fight scene where someone gets hit with a urinal or a toilet or something.
Yes.
And then also the car chase scene with the truck and the crane.
Yes, that was good shit.
You're right, because no one else, unless you have the specific key, can access that. And she's just showing you, hey, I'm from the future. I don't need permission to access all these deadly things I'm now using as a weapon. I remember seeing it in 2005, and then a few years later, on cable TV, and it was weird how the graphics looked fine on DVD, but they kind of dated pretty quickly on subsequent releases, and that. But it was still like Jurassic Park. They're still using some mechanical stuff.
You can disconnect the third movie from the first 2 movies. It's a perfectly good movie. Like
it's kind of like
thing.
the Freddy Jason angle is like, okay, can't measure up to that, but if you want a continuation of this character, just go with it.
Well, the last Terminator movie kind of jumps over 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
And I remember when the trailer for the 4th movie came out, and for Salvation, and
Treasure Lights.
That's one of the greatest teaser trailers I think that's ever been made. That Nine Inch Nails song
went away. Yep.
I watched that trailer saying, "This is the movie I've been waiting my whole life to see." Then I proceeded to watch a movie in which Skynet holds John Connor's future father hostage as bait so they can finally kill John Connor. Yep. And I said, wait a minute, I'm not a computer, and I've got a great idea. It's like,
and the best thing
holding his father hostage so he'll come in so you can kill him. Wait a second.
Yeah.
And the best thing about Salvation is you can switch Sam and Christian's roles, and it would still be epic.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
I told Shahi about the rejected script. Did you ever know about it, Jack?
I did, and that whole idea too, because Christian Bale was offered the part of Marcus. He said, I'd rather play John Connor. They said, John Connor's not even in this. And he said, well, make him bigger and I'll play it. And then it just kept going in that direction to the point where the end of the movie is completely undermined from the original attention, which was they swapped John Connor's face with the Terminator.
It would have been more impactful
to keep John Connor alive as a symbol.
Because even if it didn't work for everybody, it would still be, like you say, creative.
Yeah, but they said, no, we gotta
twist.
Listen, I really can't stand Terminator Salvation because it's such a missed opportunity. There's so much.
Hey,
it's so almost good.
But this is why I invited you and Shahi, because like Terminator's the rare fandom where everyone gets along. It's not like I have yet to see anyone just be so toxic to where like, dude, shut
Terminator's nothing but alt-right propaganda.
Yeah,
they had to do the they had to do the thing where the Wizard of Oz moment where the Tin Man had to give the guy his heart.
It is Tin Man. Yeah.
Cuddly.
And he goes all Rambo against him in the factory, and you're like, come on, guys.
One of my writing partners always says they spend an entire scene in which the Terminator guy says he doesn't know what he is. That ends with Christian Bale saying, "What are you?" And he says, "I don't know." It's like he just spent a whole scene saying, "I don't know what I am."
Yeah.
Why do you then say, "What are you?" And the answer is nobody's thinking about the story implications of anything. They're thinking, "You would be cool if you go, 'What are you?' and we'll put it in the trailer."
Much like Mike and Oreo here, I do prefer the director's cut because you at least could see more dark tension and more Moon Bloodgood's Resistance Fighter. But like you say, there is some moments that it makes you wish that McGee could have just said, "Okay, Christian, get your ass out of the editing room. You're the star, not the director."
It is
because like even Jack Bauer on 24 would have been like, "Dude, you're not even doing an interrogation the right way. Just
that movie
make
is
a demand.
stylishly
Don't
made.
ask a question. You already know the answer."
Yeah, it's well produced. It looks great, and it just doesn't make a lick of sense. It feels
didn't
like
need the Transformers.
It feels
bots.
like 8 different scripts crammed together, and it just rolls like an egg. It's
the giant bots weren't needed at all. They're just like I enjoyed those chases, but at the same time, it's like I wish it was just like spacecraft chasing them, not a giant Autobot.
Well, yeah, they had like the Terminator motorcycle, the Terminator fish or shark or whatever the heck it was.
A snake, I called it, but yeah,
it's like keep them human or human looking. Anyway.
Because like you say, like I've heard some reviewers say it felt more like a Battlestar Galactica episode, which kind of works for the Valverde connection. You've heard that. And I'm not going to say that, but
I would say that the Terminator series, as it goes on, I kind of feel like it gets worse with every successive movie, except the egregious crimes of Terminator Genesis make that my least favorite movie of the whole series.
Yeah,
because the thing that any sequel or prequel should never do is invalidate the original movie. It should only build the original movie.
Oh, and is that the one where they made John Connor a bad guy?
And they give it away in the trailer, so you're like,
I just gave away
one thread
and made it PG-13.
Yeah, but they took the one thread of that from the abandoned Terminator Salvation script.
Shahi and I talked about this too. How we like the earlier movies because they don't overdo the being flung. You don't suspend your suspension of disbelief. And here is like, let's rip off the speed bus chase. Let's do this and that. And it's like, and let's throw them. Every other scene, like even Rambo's not this crazy. Come on, just vault your gears. Like
throwing
just throw
ideas
them
at the
once.
wall. Yeah.
It literally is ideas being thrown. You're like, hey,
exactly.
And how about we make the guy chasing him be a T-1000 and we blow him up right away? I'm like, so anybody
does anybody disagree with me though? Does anybody put 4 and 3?
Terminator is a Genesis, right? That's the name of it. Yeah. It's not my favorite. There are certain moments in it I like, but it is not
like the Doctor Who actor being cast as the Skynet. I was like, I understand that. It's just like Jay Courtney.
Well, I kind of like seeing old Arnie confronting his younger self.
That was fun, but like
that scene.
Like the irony,
but then they literally shoot the original movie in the face.
Yes.
Like that's the thing that it's like, listen, make a new movie, play with the time travel, do all that stuff. But when you literally say fuck you original movie and then shoot the original movie in the face, so it doesn't happen anymore because of what they did. To me, that's what you do when you make a prequel that completely pulls the rug out from the original movie. But all that being said, I think we can probably all agree that the best movie in the series is probably 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you rank those other 3 movies as, though? Who likes what the most?
I'll take Salvation any day.
Yeah.
I got to go with Dark Fate. Like, and I'll tell you why. Like, I took I took my siblings to it who haven't seen everything, and they all responded to it. So similar experience when I took my sister and my best filmmaker buddy to Blade Runner 2049. You know, and they've only seen bits and pieces of it. Their main beef is just John Connor dying at the beginning, and I can understand that. I don't think they had
pulled an Alien 3.
Yeah, fair enough.
Remember all that stuff you were invested in the last movie? Bang.
I guess so. It's a lot to take in all at once.
Well,
I just like
saying
I like David Goyer's dialogue, you know, his profane dialogue, because I think that is right for Sarah Connor. She's like, and how she knows, you know, this is it. I'm passing the torch. Someone else is going to have to undermine all this, stop all the other Cyberdyne guys who are trying to make this Skynet.
Well,
thing
I mean, they killed off John Connor, which was a bad thing, but it gave her a purpose to be able to train this new one that comes along.
That's probably why they did.
John.
So you guys are both right. Like, it makes sense. It's just heavy-handed in how they introduced that. I guess I didn't care either way because I'd always heard bad things about Furlong, you know, behind the scenes, beating up women. So I just
basically
he is a troubled
it's
man.
basically saying that Terminator 2, they succeeded in doing what they were going to do in Terminator 2. That's basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
But then along comes this new future that still involves Terminators.
Right.
You could potentially segment it in your fan continuity and say, well, that's just one thread. One thread goes like this, and Terminator 3 is another, and this they have built into the premise, they have string theory.
It's
I love the
sort
string
of like the Marvel
theory, yes.
Universe approach. It's sort of like the Marvel Universe approach to time travel, whereas every action you make doesn't change your timeline. It creates a new one.
Yep.
Right.
I'm going to drop an awesome photo that shows the whole timeline here.
Oh, wow. Hey,
what
about the Arnold fans? It did feel to me, you know, just speaking, I'm going to say to you as an emissary for all fans of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
There you go.
When he pops up in these movies, like obviously he's practically the lead in the third movie, then he's a CGI cameo in the fourth movie. When he pops up in Dark Fate or when he pops up in Genesis, like what's the feeling when Arnold shows up in these sequels?
Yeah, very, very good question. So, and I mean, my personal opinion, it's like for Genesis, I mean, I got excited when I saw the T-800 that was sent back to, you know, like they reenacted the scene from the original 1984 Terminator, but seeing like the pops versus the old, you know, the 1984 T-800. Like, I enjoyed that scene. I actually thought it was pretty cool. I remember when I was a kid, I was like, imagine a good Terminator, like a T-800 versus a bad T-800. Kind of a. That's kind of how I thought about it. But after that moment, I wasn't sure where it was going to lead with that, and it just it's kind of like they teased us with the 1984 in the beginning, and then it just kind of like it's like a totally different dynamic. And then, you know, and then you also have, you know, an older Pops, then like a really older Pops, and it just feels different. Like with the whole, like, I mean, when I saw that part again, it's like I was excited, but like with the Genesis, I felt like they didn't make it too comedic like T3, because T3, I think they were putting a bunch of comedic puns in there, and it was kind of like okay. And
surviving off the biker bar in the second movie, I think they're pushing that tone essentially.
Kind of.
Yeah. And then you push to Dark Fate, and you know, just like Gilbert says, he doesn't show up until later on, and you have you know, he's in the drapery business, and
yeah.
Did your audience cheer in the theater when he showed up, when they opened the door and there he was?
I don't think they cheered, to be honest. When I saw it in theaters, I didn't see they cheered. It was just kind of like,
whoa,
you know, like what the heck's going on? And then like he's sitting, like you think about a T-800 sitting down, you know, on a you got to imagine how much a T-800 weighs, and he's sitting on this like
kind of like when they're picking up RoboCop in Part 3. You're like, give me a break. There's no way they're picking that up.
But honestly, like I think because they're both from Skydance Films, like I just feel like the vibes of
Everything's got to look like
Target, it's
Hunger
like very,
Games.
it's very similar. And then I think if you look at from T3 to Genesis and Dark Fate, like the ending, they're almost identical if you think about it. Like, protect my Sarah. Like
studios are giving too many notes where you're like, come on.
Okay, listen to me. I'm gonna ask you one time nicely. I need your clothes, your boots, your motorcycle. I need your clothes, your boots, your motorcycle. I need your clothes, your boots, your motorcycle. I need your clothes, your boots, your motorcycle.
I have a different theory about that specifically, but just what you were saying about those latter three movies, I think that he's the best thing in Terminator 3, Genesis, and Dark Fate easily. And the reason why I like him so much in those is that in the first movie we have a really well cast limited actor, and who's just perfectly cast as a robot, but he brings that charisma and he brings that. That presence,
that
obviously,
freakiness. He takes the makeup serious.
Incredibly physical. He's like an incredible physical performer from the first movie.
Right.
But then you get to that second movie, and it's astonishing how he never doesn't play the robot. But as the robot, he brings so much subtle gravity and pathos to that part.
Yeah.
And then he does that again in every one of those movies. Even the third movie, they were making a comic character. He has weight to him that nobody else in the movie. I mean, Nick Stahl, I think, is actually really good as John Connor.
He's so underrated. I mean, I've always liked, but that was a big year. You go from Disturbing Behavior to then other bit, The Man Without a Face, and then this, and then Sin City, and I don't know why his star never took off as much. He's such a likable guy.
Well, he was another troubled guy too, and
much like Thomas Dekker. So there you go. Kind of like I call it the Anakin Skywalker curse. We love this character, but we don't always care for every person who's portrayed him.
Well, that's the other thing about those kinds of actors is you have a guy who's like a younger, cuter guy, and then gets cast in these intense roles, and then the intensity is what they're known for. And then they sort of start to age out of the younger, cuter guy.
They don't want to do what they're famous for anymore. So you're like,
or they won't embrace being a character actor like the cyborg playing.
They do it to Cam on the TV show, and I like that too. How everyone else who's seen her in the past are like, I don't want that thing anywhere near me. I know she's reprogrammed, but is her name? And
Sarah doesn't trust her.
And what a good pilot. You start off, you say the signature line. Everyone is. It technically doesn't make sense, the whole "come with me if you want to live," but I guess you can let it, you can make it make sense in your head, because it's not only just fanfare, but it's also, we can make up in our minds how it is that all these models all say that same thing. It's like maybe they're programmed a certain way,
Right. But I like Summer Glau. Like, those are two really good actresses.
She's a great person to be around. I hear she is just on it. Like
But I love that the sweet-faced actress plays the Terminator, and then the steely-eyed actress plays Sarah Connor.
Yes. Oh
nice
my word.
Mike,
I gotta say, and the TV series is very consistent. You held your interest for 2 seasons. I really liked it. So
and they had Twitter on their side when someone didn't like how John had a girlfriend who was going to get them killed. Like, they said, hey, can you rewrite that? And they said, okay, yeah, let's. People are losing interest after 2 episodes. Place, right time, and yet still wasn't enough, but people still dig it. People still talk about it. So I mean, and kudos to director David Nutter, who had worked on Full Moon and X-Files and everything. He had the same kind of mind, just to create this freaky suspense.
There was some great visuals, like the bodies in the swimming pool, and
Well, Johnny Cash is
I got to
his
go over to
creepy
the
little
effects
song
house.
to the girl.
Yeah.
So you got to go to the effects house. Whoa.
Yeah, Almost Human. That's the late Rob Hall. That was his shop, and he did effects for a lot of movies. He did a lot of like low budget movies, and then he was a director as well. And he did the Sarah Connor Chronicles. And you walk into his shop, and there it is. There's the skinless T800 that he created, and he wanted it just like they had in Stan Winston's showroom. And you could go right up to this thing and look at all the intricate design of it and how every piece there was a lot of love and care put into certainly the practical effects.
I'm glad you got to meet him.
Yeah, I'm glad too. And that whole thing too sort of clued me in. I think I started watching the show after that shop visit. That was about 10 years ago at this point. But
damn.
But
Thomas Dekker was even in Fear Clinic, so what a tribute.
There you go. Yeah. Fear Clinic and the Chrome Skull movies. Was it Laid to
Those are
Rest?
fun movies.
He directed those too.
Will be reviewed.
Yeah.
Everyone look at the chat now. I got the graph in front of us. Okay, so do you think that checks out?
Dear God.
It looks like something from Doc Brown for a second. Let me see.
Yeah. We could use a DeLorean right about now.
But Terminator Genesis is still connected to the Terminator. It just invalidates it. Right. So that's the only flaw I see in this.
Yeah, it's not perfect. So I just figured, what would you change about this? Because
it is the movie that has the most time travel.
Because Sarah Connor Chronicles is kind of a sequel. Dark Fate is kind of a sequel to that, so that's the only thing I thought of. But I like how Battle Across Time's an alternate ending. The theme park ride.
Wait, hold on a second. So I'm looking at this. Okay, no, never mind. Now I understand. I had that moment of like, when did Sarah Connor die? I'm trying to remember that. My favorite part of Terminator 3, besides the ending, my favorite part of Terminator 3 is the deleted scene. The famous deleted
the Sergeant
scene.
Candy.
Sergeant Candy.
So
I love that scene because I love, his performance is great. And whoever is dubbing him over is really leaning into what a goofball he looks like.
So he had that as well in their review. But
oh my God!
Remember? Are you sure he dubbed? Because I know he did an accent.
Someone dubbed.
Definitely dubbed. I'm Sergeant Candy. Like
Mike brought this up too.
It's not his register at all.
So fun. Yeah, it's technically still canon because it's in the T3 Redemption video game.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case,
have it in a
canon. It's so important because the question we've all been asking from the beginning: why does this fucking robot have a German accent? An Austrian accent, rather. And then they answered why. The guy says, I don't know about his voice. And then you just see this little guy go, we can fix it. And it's clearly Arnold dubbing him.
Well, and that I wish they could have explored that more because like Robert Patrick said in an interview when he was promoting We Are Marshall and he was going to work with McGee again and everything. He has since on some of his TV shows. But when he found out he was slated to direct Salvation, he's like, we talked about how I could play the human who designed the 1000. I'm like, see, that would have been great. Instead of paying Helena Bonham Carter for a cameo as Marcus's mother, it's like, they could have explored some of the other mechanics.
Maybe they only didn't do that because of the Lance Henriksen alien thing, and it's basically it would feel too much like a 1-to-1 copy of that.
Yeah.
Of the Bishop and then creator of Bishop stuff. But also with regard to all that, do you all know this story of this alternate version of Terminator 2 that would have starred Michael Biehn as the T-1000?
I think I did hear about that briefly.
That was considered. It was
where was that? Was that in the special features or?
No, what they said, I think what it was is he wrote the movie, and then when they were talking about who should play the T-1000, like while he was writing it, he was imagining it would be Michael Biehn. So you would have Skynet sending back someone who's
other actors, James.
But that's the thing. It was just decided it would be too confusing for the audience.
Actually, I'm happy they didn't do it because then it would have felt like an accelerated Terminator Genesis with that.
I mean, we already got the extended cut where we see him the hallucination of him talking to Sarah. That's good enough.
That's the one part that feels like a missed opportunity is, well, why didn't at some point the T-1000 imitate Kyle Reese? And I guess the answer is he never came into contact with him.
Right. He didn't kill him.
Yes.
But that would have been cool if there had been one scene like that.
But that's the other issue too. I've gotten into debates as to other people who he flings versus kills, but doesn't take the form of. And I'm like, in my mind, that's a nice bike. I'm thinking he killed the cop just to get that, but what do I know? He didn't take the form.
He doesn't necessarily kill the cop in the beginning, and
he technically killed the pilot, but he didn't put his hand on him.
Yeah, there's a lot there too.
He's a pacifist. Leave him alone.
Just defending his turf.
My whole thing with Terminator 2, because the first movie has always been my favorite, and then you start watching the second movie, and like, no, never mind, this is my favorite. But
back and forth and back and forth.
But then also the extended version of the original Terminator, I think, is kind of perfect because it actually puts in the reference to Cyberdyne, and it's maybe 5 minutes longer. And then I love the extended version.
Wait, there's an extended version of T1?
There's only like 5 extra minutes. You have Paul Winfield and Lance Henriksen driving around in a squad car.
Did they just put the deleted scenes back in? Or?
I guess that's what it is, but I have seen it cleaned up where it doesn't have that thing where it goes back and forth in quality like they just stuck in deleted scenes. But also, there are little beats that I really liked that when I watched the theatrical version without realizing
I see what you're talking about. It's a fan
missed
edit.
it. Yeah, no, it's not a fan edit. It's on the DVD that I have.
Yeah, for T2 or T1?
For the first one, for T1.
That's weird. I've never...
Paul Winfield hands them the gun, and he says, "Protect Sarah." Like, that's in the movie on the DVD. It's not in the movie that you can watch streaming on Prime, or it's not in the theatrical release.
That's wild.
So, little things like that. Anyway, Terminator 2.
I can't find this anywhere. You're going to have to show me this DVD.
The extended edition of Terminator 2, I love so much because I love that scene where the Terminator has the chip pulled out and they could smash it right there and end the whole thing. I love the Terminator trying to smile. I love all that stuff. But then somewhere around the middle of the 40-minute action climax of Terminator 2, I'm just exhausted. That thing just keeps going and going. It's like the siege on Cyberdyne, the shootout with the police.
What happens to the step parents? Yeah.
When Miles Dyson blows up like that, the part of the stakes in the movie have been lowered for me. And there's actually in the extended version of Terminator 2, there's a great scene with him working on the microchip and his wife comes in. Like, I really love that extended version. And then I realized why they had to cut it back when you get to the climax, because it's not relentless. It just feels endless. It's like he fights the cops, then they get away. Then they're doing another truck chase. The helicopter's chasing the truck. Then they crash in the steel mill, and then the T-1000 gets frozen, and then he's unfrozen, and then they're running through the steel. Like, it just keeps going and going and going and going and going in a way that now when I watch it is a little tiresome.
A little jarring.
Because I watched the first movie for all the tedious parts of the first movie, for all the stuff that maybe didn't age so well. There's a quality of that first movie where it really is
it's still fast paced. Yeah.
It's relentless from beginning to end, but then also it's less than 2 hours long, and it feels like a bullet was fired out of a gun in the first scene, and then it rockets all the way to that ending. And even the sex scene is kind of edited like an action movie in the first Terminator. And then the second movie, it's gigantic, it's spectacular, but I kind of know at this point that they're not going to kill Sarah or John, and I don't know. There's something about, oh my God, it's like what people say about the Return of the King ending, where it's like, okay, that could have been the ending. Okay, that could have been the ending. Okay, that could have been the ending.
Hey, it was great in theaters. I think everyone just, got impatient.
They kill the Terminator, then he comes back. They freeze Terminator, and then he comes back. All that sort of like back.
It's an unusual kind of repetitiveness that when anyone else seems to do it, like, it just doesn't work.
It's the same structure that I love about Aliens, but in Aliens, it's still a body count throughout. You were still losing our favorite characters, and it all builds up to the moment when, oh my God, she has to go back.
Yeah.
And in Terminator 2, it's just they keep running.
She didn't
they keep
punch
running.
out.
Right. I mean, I feel like I'm probably alone in this criticism. I'm still saying it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Every criticism is valid. I think.
Well, you're talking about the extended cut too, though, right?
Right.
Yeah. But even watching the non-extended cut, even watching the theatrical version, it does feel like the action climax goes for so long and does so many reversals that it just the air goes out of that action climax for me by the end.
It's interesting you brought up the chips. They did a lot. You brought up the chips. They did a lot more with the chips in the TV series.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and they probably picked it, but that wasn't actually in the theatrical release.
That and the scene where he smiles when they're testing out the guns on the ranch.
Oh God, that's so funny. And he even says it.
That made it into Genesis. Yeah.
He says, "I basically look like a horse that's trying to smile." Like he says it himself.
It's so unusual.
My main criticism for all except for maybe Salvation is the time travel aspect. They all establish that they have to be, it has to be covered in human skin.
Right.
And so you got the liquid Terminator in the second one, who's like, okay, he has what looks like skin, but it's still liquid metal, right? So how can he travel through time? And it's
how does it not melt his skin off before? Right. Yeah.
Or
it's like the Hulk. Why does when he rip his clothes off, how does it always just go? Yeah.
I got a comic where Bruce Banner goes into like a clothing store and he gets like the same white shirt.
He has to be a very intimidating customer.
Pants.
That reminds me of a joke on the old Bob Newhart show when he's a psychiatrist. One of his patients says, "I didn't know what size to get my wife, so I got her a stretch dress." That was probably inspired by the Hulk,
I know they're working on an anthology show, live action, as well as
they're working on a Bob Newhart anthology show.
No. I
went off on a weird tangent there.
No, it's fine. It's a Terminator one for Max, I think. It's in the word.
Oh yeah,
as well as
Netflix. It's Netflix.
Okay, well, either way,
Terminator.
Wouldn't it be Shahi? Have you ever read the Secondary Objectives comic? So it is kind of like Dark Fate, where they send a T-800 model in. He's too late to kill one of the resistance leaders, so he pretty much just coexists, throughout the whatever timeline in LA that he's in. And I always thought they should adapt that one, kind of like when you read a good AVP comic, you're like, that would actually work as a movie,
Well, they kindly loosely adopted like that Predator comic for the second one, in a way.
That and the rumor that they were going to do Rambo versus Predator kind of factored into Prey. You got a Native American, taking on the creature.
I wish with my heart of hearts that Alien 3 would have been the Dark Horse comic with adult Newt. That would have been amazing. That had some of the best versions of those story beats from the first two Alien movies were in that Dark Horse comic.
It would have been fun, yeah. It's kind of like how we should have just seen Frank Miller's version of RoboCop instead of the studio giving him notes. We kind of are learning from this whole conversation. A lot of those first two movies were in the right place at the right time, and then the other stuff was kind of, you got to copy and paste some, and then you got to do your own voice here and there, but it's ultimately too many cooks. So it's,
and plus it's 2000s, like we talked about with Riddick.
Yeah.
It feels to me like kind of like when they did the Muppets after Jim Henson died, and you're doing something that came naturally to someone else, but you're imitating what
and then by the time a studio takes it over, it really not anywhere close.
What Muppet movie did he die before?
Christmas Carol.
1990. So yeah.
Jim Henson was around for all the Muppet movies, all the first three Muppet movies, and then his son directed Christmas Carol. But that's the thing, is like around that time, Henson had sold it to Disney. So then you have Disney saying, okay, this is what the Muppets are to us. So you watch the James Cameron movies, he's just doing his James Cameron thing.
The 2015 mockumentary show they did, I think, was the closest they ever got to Muppets Tonight. But
But even that is
Then,
still
yeah.
imitating the personalities that were natural to
Right.
those performers. So you got a guy trying to do what Frank Oz would have done rather than just being Frank Oz.
And
Yeah,
the
you
fact
can't
that
just shove your hand up a puppet's ass and say, "Hey, look, it's Grover." Like,
and the fact that
professional, damn it.
come here, Fozzie. No.
Sometimes that works. Sometimes that works with franchises like the Bond. When Daniel Craig came in, they kind of rebooted that, and
yeah,
you got Star Wars. It's like, okay, the original three are, 4, 5, and 6, whatever, however it goes, we're still the best ones.
Well, we don't
but
have
it's
to
such
be
a crapshoot with with quality, because what you have is, okay, I'm going to put my own stamp on it, and it's either going to be accepted or rejected. And you have that thing
to
of
get
like
that divisive. It's not needed,
Well, Terminator hasn't been remade yet, has it?
Well, I was
man.
going to add to that. So actually, so Terminator actually, it's coming. It's going to be in a cartoon. It's going to be Terminator. So and it's going to be from Skydance Studios also. So that's the people who made Dark Fate and Genesis. So I think they're trying to have it like that anime kind of feel to it.
Yep.
Wow.
I don't want to see Terminator as anime. I don't.
It's great though, because I get to literally phone in my performance. I sit in my office, me and Whiskey and Lulu are in the booth with me as I'm phoning in, and I'm saying I'll be back, and I'm saying trust me, and they're giving me so much money, and it's
It'd be
fantastic.
like when he played Dutch in that Predator video game. Yeah, that's the most I'm going to do.
Oh yeah, Hunting Grounds. Yeah.
And I know he has said, much like Sigourney says, I'll never play Ripley again. He's like, I will never do any of that. That Dark Fate was the last one. So,
wow.
To end this on a good point, if it's Animatrix style or like Halo Legends, I think that can work. Yeah. Otherwise, it can be hit and miss, kind of like the Blade Runner anime, where you're like, this depends.
I did like the Blade Runner anime. That was fun. I got to rewatch it.
But they've tried so hard to continue Terminator, and they keep failing. Like it really is a series that's 2 movies for me.
It's like Highlander.
Mike, what you've been saying about the show, well, sure, but what you've been saying about the show is a really a good point, though, because I feel like the only way you could do it, even when we said Animatrix, it made me think of this. The only way you could do it would be extended universe. This is in the world of the Terminator.
I thought they were going to keep going there because we want to see the future war, and even after Salvation, we still want to see the future war. And so
speaking of that, then from us, instead of being on film, then that's where we tied into the video games, right? So
the video games,
like Terminator Resistance, like that is the salvation that we wanted. Actually.
They did a comic book tie-in to it, even, and T-Free Redemption. I kid you not, I invited some of my brother's friends over, and we played the shit out of that.
I love that game.
It was fun. Yeah.
If they're trying to continue it outside of the games, what they should do is Rogue One that shit, and they make a movie about
even if you don't like Rogue One,
the time machine. Make a movie about Make a movie about stealing the time portal. Make a movie about the siege on the time portal.
How did they get How did they first infiltrate the Skynet?
Have it end. Get that European actor. I think he's Swedish from Black Klansman, who looks exactly like young Michael Biehn.
Oh,
and just have him come out at the end and jump into the time portal, and have that be the movie, and then whatever spinoff would be. I personally think that the best thing that the Star Wars universe has done since Disney bought it is Andor, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is you have have it be about the
Star
Resistance,
Wars, the West Wing edition,
but don't have it be about John Connor. He could be in there. He could be in the mix.
He'll appear he should appear in the season finale. That's mission accomplished, But like you
they're probably only not doing that because Terminator Salvation underperformed and wasn't particularly well.
And Christian Bell,
I think they could
has
have
also changed his tune on it since. But
what were you saying, Gilbert?
I think they could have left out that. Well, I can't think of his last name. Sam something.
Well, Worthington. Yeah.
Sam Worthington.
Yeah. They could have left him out of it, but
coincidentally, he has actually gone on to work with the director of T-Free on I think it was like The Hunter's Prayer. So
and you know why they cast him in Terminator Salvation? Because that was his first big movie.
Yeah.
Before that,
it was his first.
Avatar was a 3-year deal, but it wasn't out yet.
That's what it was. He was already filming Avatar, and they said, "Well, we could get the lead from James Cameron's new crazy movie."
He had been in the Aussie Killer Crocodile film, also
Rogue.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I say his first big movie,
Oh,
I mean,
this is fun. Sweet.
yeah, it felt strange to have it be, oh look, it's Batman and some guy, like when that movie came.
Yeah.
And the reason was because they said, well, this guy's gonna be a huge star. You know, I'm a Cameron apologist for the most part. I even really like Titanic and as insufferable as the insufferable parts of that movie are. I think it's great filmmaking. I think the whole second half of that movie is bananas good. And
I still wish there was an extended cut.
yeah,
I do, man.
The 4.5 hour Titanic.
Yeah,
hours at this rate.
Let's have an entire scene that's just about the kitchen staff. But the whole thing.
Staff. Nice.
I went and saw the new Avatar in the theater. I saw The Way of Water in the theater. I thought those are the best special effects I've ever seen in a movie. You know, I couldn't tell.
He needs to work with Peter Jackson one day. I feel like they are on the same wavelength. They have that. Sam Raimi could provide the budget. You know, just something.
But the genre filmmaking of Avatar 2 in particular, the action movie filmmaking, reminded me of the James Cameron that we haven't gotten for a while. You know, the guy who can.
Yeah.
I mean, at least 20 minutes of that movie is just people going commercial whaling. And
yeah, for real.
But it's a rarity. I think it's also a rarity because he has made the studios back money. He's critic proof, even though he is a rare mixture of critics and audiences both liking his material. It is It's a Michael Mann, Ridley Scott kind of fascination where it's just like, leave him be.
I do
like Scorsese or Spielberg, the studios will be caught dead giving
tried
notes.
To make him stop do shit with the film, which was funny.
I think he might be the most profitable director of all time. I think that you can put that in there and
even
dollar
though,
for dollar.
And that's just it. Like he knows what's working, even though it took him a while to communicate. Okay, I should be less of a hard ass to you, since what I'm saying isn't making sense to you. You haven't been in the studio all night, you know, with 3 hours of sleep. He is that kind of perfectionist, and you can respect that he's a perfectionist because of the results and how he's able to. I mean, we're all in the film buff area, but we all have trouble conveying this sometimes to non-film guys. You know, they don't know they don't know what an apple cart as significance is, or you know.
Doesn't Cameron do it to himself though, where he makes it so that everything he makes has to be an event?
So I think
he can't make a smaller movie now.
I think it's a personal bet. He's like, I can't. I can do better than that. You know, it's just that, and I think he's also that rare. Even if you don't like his current stuff, I'm just like, but you're still cool with whatever he wants to do. He's earned the freedom from low budget to big budget guy. You can't. I would not call him a sellout in any way, shape, or form. He wants to do what he wants to do. That's a big difference from I'm doing whatever and I don't care, and then I just gotta contract for this thing that's not really my thing. You know,
and he could buy and sell us many times over.
He could buy himself many times over.
Even with the one thing about he makes all this money, but that's not why he's doing it. You can kind of tell.
Yes, exactly.
One of the things I love about him is that with Avatar, he spent a whole 13 years making them sequels and planning and waiting, because he knew if he
didn't
jumped
try to
into
predict the market at all. He's just like,
if he tried to do that shit last decade, he would have quit filmmaking altogether, because he wouldn't have been able to make it against CBMs.
Francis Ford Coppola has a new movie out. I actually want to see it, despite everyone, bad talking it. Hey, self-funded. He didn't take anyone's advice. I'm like, hey, even if it's a piece of shit, I can admire a man who went with his own ambition, arrogant as he is, and just decided to do it instead of,
I can also give a few hours to the guy that made The Godfather, Godfather 2,
The Conversation.
The Conversation. Yeah. Oh, I love The Conversation. But
the Rain People.
I talked to I interviewed Sigourney Weaver for the Galaxy Quest documentary.
Yes, you did.
This was back in 2016.
There's so many alien Easter eggs in that movie that people don't realize. There's a Buzz Lightyear Easter egg.
Yep. Ducks. Why is it always ducks? When we talked to her, that was in New York in 2016, and I was talking to her, and she said she was moving back to LA soon, and I said, "Oh, why?" This is 2016, And I say, oh, what's bringing you back to LA? And she goes, Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know. Like she just said it like that. And then I said, did you die in the first movie? And she just winked at me. So, but that whole thing of like, she moved back to LA and then they've been on a stage. That was 2016. So from 2017 until when that movie come out? 22. There you go.
Yeah, 5 years. That's impressive shit and dedication.
Did you know? For sure. Fun fact. Did you guys see that interview Eddie Falco was doing promoting?
Oh right, she forgot she was in it.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's out now.
Yeah,
my agent didn't tell me.
I think what she said was, "I assumed it came out and bombed."
Right.
Oh damn.
Well, because no one was talking about it, and it was so hush hush. You just come in, get out of here. And
I would say Cameron knows how to keep shit hush hush.
Just ask Ed Harris.
Oh God,
who would have been a great resistance leader? All right, cadet, you get your ass over here. We're gonna do the right stuff.
Those two are not gonna work together again.
Yeah, but he's a pro too. I love how when they ask him loaded questions on that, when they were trying to, someone at like a clickbait site was trying to list, greatest director actor feuds, and he's like, "What's been said has already been said. Next question." I'm like, "You go, Ed. You are a pro, like William Dafoe and those guys. You don't."
I read a quote somewhere where he said, asking me about the abyss would be like asking a veteran about Vietnam.
Yeah. It's a nightmare. So it's like, what you need is an analogy and you move on. So many people want to just bitch.
Bash it.
And it's like, don't feed the trolls, don't feed the clickbait. Don't do it.
But listen, like as much as I love Cameron's more ambitious stuff, I still think his masterpiece is Aliens. Which
definitely director's cut.
A director's cut. Although I'll tell you what, I love the director's cut, but the removal of the real 3 that's in the theatrical version, I think is genius. So that you never see the planet before you get there.
True.
I actually think that's fantastic. So my ideal version of Aliens would be the director's cut missing that part. And but that's also the version I grew up with, was the one where you never see it until they get there.
But I'm glad we're all of this same mindset, because like, when Justice League was coming out, I was telling guys, hey, you should still see every version of a movie, even if you don't care for it. See what they did different, what you preferred, and I see so many people, they will refuse to revisit a movie. They're like, that damage done. Like, and I've had to do this with Johnny Mnemonic. I've had to tell guys, hey, you should watch the uncut,
and I have that version thanks to you.
Yes, it's a way better version. You don't get any of those different takes. You can barely hear the infamous "I want room service" line. It is different opening, narration, everything. Who is the time to watch all these different versions of different movies? And that's just it too. But it's one of those, and I tried doing it. I tried telling people, hey, I know you like this movie or you don't like this movie, you should check it out. And they're like, damage done. I'm not gonna And
by the way, I'm absolutely self-owning, because what happens is people ask me if I've seen something new. I'm like, oh no, I'm too busy. I don't have the time. I'm too busy watching a 4th version of Blade Runner. I'm busy watching a 35
stuff I know.
Scan. Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty hard to go low as a director's cut. Like if Ridley Scott, as maddening and as much respect as he has lost from me over the years, if he wants to do a 3rd recut of Gladiator, I might actually watch it. I'd be like, hey, like when I have the Apocalypse Now final cut.
Oh,
and
sure.
I had some other filmmakers, friends, including the director of Ballistic X vs. Sever, and he hated the special edition so much I could not sell him on seeing this final cut. I'm like, trust me, he took out the stuff that was criticized, but he still left in the cool stuff with the French plantation, all that, and it's never looked better. So
I don't know, man. That's one of those rare movies that the theatrical version is my favorite.
No, that's fine. I think you would like the final cut though, but. So you've just proved my point though. Like there's some movies you just don't want to touch. You're like, you can do 5 more versions of it. It doesn't make a difference. And then there's other, Oreo and I had talked to death about director's cuts that everyone forgets are out there, but are actually worth watching.
My favorite version of the movie tends to be between the two versions. Like it's what I was saying about Aliens.
I need a shorter version today, and tomorrow when I'm working out, I'm gonna watch the extended. Yeah.
It's less that. It's more that I always feel like the extended versions always put in one thing too many.
Yeah.
So for example, I love the movie Almost Famous.
That's why they were cut to begin with, yeah.
Exactly. I love the movie Almost Famous. I love the extended version the best, but then there's one scene I would take out of that extended version. I love the extended version of Aliens, but I would take out that third reel. Like there's
that was like it's the 2000s where you got the unrated cuts, extended cuts, and it was always just extra fuck you and a couple pair of tits, and that was it. And it's like that's not much of an unrated cut.
Right, that did nothing for the plot. Yeah,
I know.
The first director's cut I ever experienced was The Lawnmower Man.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
And when I was in the video store, I said, "What does this mean?" And the video store clerk, I was pointing at director's cut, and the video store clerk said, "Means it's got more dirty bits in it." So I...
Were you in the town of Fargo? Man.
Yeah, I was in Fargo. I was in Fargo, Virginia. No, then I take it home and it's got a half hour with the chimpanzee in it. That's the difference between the two movies. So it's like, I guess that was dirty. That was a dirty ass chimpanzee.
What you needed was a video store guy who's like the pawn shop owner in Terminator. Hey, see what you like.
Dude, we need to open this podcast up with the dirty bit shit.
Sure.
We got the dirty bits on this.
You know what's crazy too? When they unearth an older version, so I've got that Blues Brothers Blu-ray, and I'm watching this version of it, and it's so great because every musical number is longer, everything's so great.
Oh wow!
And then suddenly Dan Aykroyd walks in without his sunglasses on, and you're like, "That's not Elwood, that's Dan Aykroyd." Like it completely ruins the illusion immediately. So
whoa,
yeah.
Someone needed to do another re-edit. I do recommend the uncut version of Live Free or Die Hard. Like you get more of the henchmen, and you actually see what happened to them. And
yippee-ki-yay, mother!
Well, right, none of that. You hear every fuck, and gory bit. So it's one of those rare ones where it's like people were okay with the theatrical after much resistance, but I'm like, yeah, no, you should see it uncut. I think you would like that one better.
Does everybody have a favorite part of Terminator 2 that's only in the extended version?
Well, the extended version didn't have more of the dream sequence with the the atomic explosions or nuclear explosions?
It sets it up. Kyle runs in and she dreams that she's with him, and then she follows Reese outside, and then she wakes up before you can see everything. So it's like they set it up, and then the next dream sequence is the response, basically.
Right. I can see how the dog killing might have been too much, but you should at least include the scene where he's searching John's room. Just that acting is amazing. How he is,
On the 4K, there's an extended edition, there's a special edition and then an extended special edition.
That 3D, they
avoid the extended special edition.
And they got enough complaints. They eliminated all the bloopers.
It's like, honestly, I thought it was great. And then it ends with that horrible ending where she's in the worst age makeup ever. And she's like, John became a senator. And, like all this stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where you're like, John became Senator Blutarski or whatever. But but the ending of going back to the theatrical version, the ending of Terminator 2 is so definitive. That's it. Yes. We don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
The end. It almost
John made an OnlyFans account.
Oh God.
Easy money.
Anybody remember Albert Brooks in Broadcast News doing that bit about, you got to see Arnold on TV saying I'm the same person now when I made 1 million instead of 5 million now.
Yeah.
Terminators 1 and 2 prove that wrong because he's not the same character.
Yeah,
right. There you go.
Totally different.
We can't. But
I think that's probably before the movie came out, though. So
fair enough. I mean, you guys have all illustrated what I figured we were going to hit on is that you can't replicate or predict success, but you got to cherish it while it lasts. Otherwise, you end up like all these TV shows that are on the air and they don't know how to end their story without, pissing off people who will always tune in versus ones who are sick of it and want it to conclude already.
I think we've also proven something that my girlfriend frequently says, which is bad Arnold impressions are so much better than good ones.
That is true.
Depends on what you're saying.
Although I do think Pablo Francisco still mastered it. Little tortilla boy.
My favorite is Will Sasso doing an Arnold commentary, because it's not just a great impression. It does sound like what he would say.
Oh, what did he do that on? Like on a podcast?
It's back when he was doing Vines, and it's scenes from The Force Awakens, and you hear him go, "Hey, look, it's Luke Solo. He's here, and he's hiding from the stormtroopers." Because
oh yeah,
Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian is one of my favorite movies of all time. And also, you hit play on the commentary track on the special edition DVD. I assume it's also on the Blu-ray.
I think so.
And it literally starts with a gravelly voice going, "Hi, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger."
He won a DVD award because he did so much stating what's on screen.
Then Arnold says, "And I'm John Milius. And if you believe that, you believe there are Richard Simmons Jr.'s running around." I love that. He says I love that about his own joke, and that's the beginning of the commentary.
Oh, wait till you get to the Total Recall one. This is
the Total Recall. Oh, that's so good. But he's clearly he's clearly smoking a J and then watching these movies.
He didn't give a shit, and I wouldn't either.
In the Conan one, you remember the training montage with him and the swords and everything.
Yeah.
So you hear Milius, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's becoming the Nietzschean ideal of the self-actualized."
Like,
and then he kicks the guy in the crotch, and he's like, so he's basically got, "I forgot about the part. He kicked the guy and he fell down." That's not funny. He interrupts Milius being pretentious about Nietzsche and self-creation by saying, "He kicked in the crotch, he fell down."
Oh man. Imagine if he had done that for those Terminator ones. He does it briefly on T3, where he's like, "Oh,
right,
this is how you begin a movie," where he's checking out her butt. I'm like, "Oh my word, Arnold, thanks, dude." And did you do this before you were governor?
I still think my all-time favorite Arnold is Yakety Yak in Twins.
Don't got the papers in the tracks.
Money!
Good no spending cash.
How they picked that out of all the songs ever made. It's so perfect. He's on the plane. Yeah.
I sing as William Shatner and Arnold all the time. And given how the surprise success of this, now how they're doing all these either video game TV shows with the creators' input or CGI ones like the new Super Mario Brothers movie, they should do one of Crash Bandicoot, and they should have him play Tiny, which is clearly meant to be a parody of him with the "Here comes Tiny,"
Here comes Tiny.
That's how the character speaks, and so I'm like, that'd be perfect. That would be
Look at my tail. I got.
I'm chasing tail.
That is
got a great body, man. Yeah.
The whole Hans and Franz thing apparently started. That was the other great thing that we had recently.
Did you listen to that audio drama?
I did. When Robert Smigel was doing Schwarzenegger.
And they worked in a Dolph Lundgren cameo, and
oh my god, it was
Roger
so good.
Ebert gets taken hostage like that.
The unmade movie Hans and Franz: The Girly Dilemma, which Conan O'Brien,
the Barbarian. Imagine that. That would be great.
But Hans and Franz began with Kevin Nealon calling Dana Carvey, and he was just watching Arnold on TV, like on the Today Show or something like that.
Yes.
And he just calls up Dana Carvey, and he just starts doing Arnold on the phone. He says, what you do is you put on you take a shower, and you put on a nice cotton shirt, and then you want to look good, and then and it's like actually describing his routine of getting dressed to go out.
Yeah, it's like, thanks, too much information here. This is before we took notes, And
then they just started doing it around the Saturday Night Live office, and that was the beginning of Hans.
Oh, man. And how about the fact that Dana would always bring this up, is like, we never made it clear who was Hans and who was Franz. We coexisted,
I think they forget. It's like Rod and Todd on The Simpsons. They forget.
They did it so much. It's like it doesn't matter. Yeah. We're like the Three Stooges. We're inseparable. Yeah.
There's a Brian Thompson movie called
Hired to Kill.
The Extendables.
Yeah,
wow.
it's a parody of.
It's parody, and he's kind of parodying, like Schwarzenegger and Stallone.
It's pretty much who they hired when they couldn't get him or Dolph. They're like, let's hire this guy who does all those Italian war movies and direct-to-video action films. Yeah.
Remember, he was the bad guy in Cobra.
Yep.
So he's
and I'm sure you guys have read all about that. He's actually trying to give 100%, and the director who's ghost directing, something that would continue on the set of Tombstone, starring Michael Biehn. It's just like. You get more footage from him in the TV edit, believe it or not.
I think what happened was Kurt Russell called up Stallone.
He did.
And said, Who
he
should I get?
Yeah, Cowboys and Indians magazine, and it. I'm so surprised that the Directors Guild never caught on to that.
I'm not surprised
because imagine if they did that now, there'd be a revolt. It'd be the whole Bryan Singer thing all over again. Who directed what?
Yeah, at that time though,
just shut up and finish your job, and we'll give
movie
you
star. Well, the movie star was the 800-pound gorilla, so I don't think anybody was.
Yeah,
they talk about Mel Gibson directing.
No one wanted to know how the cheese was made. Yeah.
Sure. I met Brian Thompson at a New Year's Eve party once. He walked up to me and my date. We were both wearing.
Did you ask him to dress up as a Klingon? And
no. But he said, I want a picture with you guys. And he looked like $1 million. He was wearing a great suit. He was smoking a cigar. He took a picture with me.
Sure, I'll sign your X-Files merchandise now.
And then I said, hey, like he put his arms around us and he got the picture. And then he's like, oh yeah, thanks. That's great. He looking at his phone.
He's a real gentle giant,
Yeah. And I said, hey, I'm a big fan. And he put the cigar in his mouth and he just nodded and walked away. It was just like, nice. I don't know if I get that all the time, or I'm uncomfortable getting that. I don't know.
But I was surprisingly shy guy.
Come back. I have so many Fright Night 2 questions. It's just.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, he was at Fright
He's
Nights.
He's a muscle-bound Renfield. He's eating bugs throughout the whole movie. It's great.
If you want to hear more from him, listen to his GalaxyCon interviews.
I've liked him in pretty much everything I've seen him in. He's been in an episode of Orville.
He's been in some sitcoms.
Deep Space Nine. Yeah, he's been in an episode of Deep Space Nine. He's played a Klingon. Yeah. I don't remember which.
As well as Enterprise. So yeah, he was on that train for a while, and then he does all these other B action movies.
Was he a Klingon in Search for Spock? What was?
I'm not sure which one it was.
Let's look it up.
I thought it was a TV episode or something.
Okay.
Memory Alpha. Yeah, I know.
He's got a great face for it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look it up real fast. Yep. DS9, he's playing a guard. The Rules of Acquisition episode. And then a Klingon on Generations. And then a Toman Tarak on DS9. And then, okay, I take it back. Then he plays that Admiral Valdor Romulan on Enterprise. And yeah, he was Clegg in A Matter of Honor, Next Gen. So there you go.
So before we wrap up our Terminator talk, do we want to go around and each person say their favorite part of each Terminator movie, or
everybody dies? That's my favorite part.
You bastard! We'll come back to you. So we've sprinkled them, but yes, I think that's a good idea, Jack. Just to summarize, what's the moment you could not do without? Like, it can be from anyone. So I'll let Gil go first, and then.
Oh crap. I don't know. There's a little bit to like from everything, even the movies that weren't as good. The opening scene when Terminator first shows up, and the electricity and stuff, and then you got the bum off to the side. And he's I'm lost. Go ahead, go to somebody else.
Okay, sure. I take it's gonna be the F you asshole.
Yeah. That's my favorite part.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the pawn shop. Wrong.
Dick Miller, man.
Yeah,
can't go wrong. For the first Terminator, I think it's got to be the entire tech noir club gunfight.
Great.
Everything that ends with them.
The soundtrack has so many great songs that aren't in the movie.
Yeah.
Mike, what are you gonna go with?
I gotta go with the timing. It's so perfect. I'll be back scene, because the way he acts when he she's
in T2 when he's going in the SWAT team, or T1.
No, the police station.
I'll be back.
Police station. Okay.
Police station. I'm sorry. And, I'll be back. Comes up a lot.
The way he just looks back at the sergeant.
Yeah, you think he's gonna go out and get a pack of cigarettes for a minute or something and do some grocery shopping? Just
sit in the lobby creepily.
But it's so okay. He's getting in his car, and then all of a sudden, bang! It's so.
And the guy's holy shit look on his face.
And Mike, the edit is so perfect on cutting back to the police officer behind the desk, cuts to just a few frames of him scribbling in the book, and then cut back to his face, and he looks up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's for 1 second.
It's so meticulous.
For 1 second, you think that's it. For 1 second, you think it's at the end of the scene.
One take? What take did they do in one?
And also the T-800's walking by the psychiatrist too.
Yes.
Right. He just misses the opportunity to kill Earl Bowen, the one actor who's in all three of the first three movies.
And he died recently too.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. How old?
Yeah.
80s,
70s,
right?
70s or 80s.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I would have asked him 100 stupid questions as a fan.
He was one of those lucky actors.
He was in Battle Beyond the Stars.
There's the Roger Corman connection. I knew.
Yep.
And he was one of those lucky actors to go bald early, so he never looked old. He just looked the same age for 30 years.
My uncle said the same thing about Joe on the Highlander TV show. Is like the guy looked like he was 60 before he was actually 60.
Word.
Or Steve Martin.
Yeah, there you go. Really great. Patrick Stewart was there. Yeah, you always looked elder than you actually were. So it's cool. You're just Oreo. Did you already go?
I will pick. Let's see. My favorite moment in the Terminator universe. I liked Burning Earth, and the whole story with that was great.
Yeah.
That was a good story.
We're cheating here. We're going to comic book here. Nice.
Yeah, definitely. And
that is some great visuals. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. The story felt just so short, though, but I still liked it. It was really good. And the introduction of the other, I forget what the hell her name was.
So in the first movie, is your favorite part the flashbacks to the flashbacks to the future?
Yeah, the flashbacks are always amazing because that's one of those things that sticks out the most.
It doesn't feel. I mean,
it fills in the story. They're like.
Being filmed out of sequence didn't matter, it's already out of sequence, so it's
true.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. It's like if it's out of sequence, who cares? It just makes sense as it goes forward because then you're like, oh, I got to go back and rewatch this to understand where it's at now.
There's a great Industrial Light and Magic documentary on Disney Plus, and I'm always blowing my parents' mind, and they see the part where they're showing how they made T2 and Jurassic Park, and they just can't believe that's a puppet actually crushing a skeleton prop. And I'm like, yeah, that's an animatronic. That's why it looks so good. I actually think that's in the room about to lunge out of the TV screen and choke me.
Yeah, for real. And it's all about the practical shit too.
Yep.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small-town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, give it up, Jimmy, you gotta sink this putt to win. On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in, it's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out. Gil, final answer.
No, well, I mean, I liked a lot of the, like, especially in the first
gun
one.
to your head. What do you do?
I'm just remembering, like, you're talking about the music, and I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like, you know, as the car's running and they're being chased, and the sound is coming up, it sounds almost like a flat tire. The way the
yeah. Great.
You know, and it just tightens up the tension.
You don't know if it's
I really
by
like those
accident or what. Yeah. I have some other great trivia that you're not going to find on IMDb. And tell me, Jack, if you heard this before. So 50 Miles Per Hour podcast, which covers the making of Speed, is a great listen for everybody because it also talks about rear projection and editing and movie marketing. It shows you how in 94, a lot of movies changed how they did their productions and everything. And they interviewed Joe Morden, you know,
Joe Morden,
Miles Dyson. Believe it or not, you know, when he was training, you know, to be the SWAT lieutenant and everything in that movie, he was trained coincidentally by the same SWAT team that shoots him in T2.
That's fantastic.
That's cool.
And
What
then
a coincidence.
that's Hank from Breaking Bad also is the one guy who's not a SWAT team member. Dean Norris. Dean Norris is the one who discovers Dyson doing
a year
that
after playing
really
the unit
creepy
guy in Recall. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he's in Total Recall and he's in Starship Troopers. He's in a bunch of that stuff from that era.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's Hank before they transferred him to New Mexico, and
he's really killing it now on Law and Order Organized Crime. Like season 4 is probably the best of that show. They got the directors of 24 working on it. They got
that's terrific.
The head writers of John Shaban from Breaking Bad and X-Files universe as the showrunner now. And Dean is killing it. He is. He's not playing evil Hank anymore. He is playing a whole different character.
Oh god, just
damn it, Barbie.
His arc from the beginning of Breaking Bad to the end of that show, he's got.
You
the
think he's going to be the
arc.
same douchebag? And you're like, no, I feel sorry for him.
My least favorite character in like the first couple episodes of Breaking Bad is my favorite character by the end of that show. Yeah.
They should do Gomez like a spin-off. Just Gomez, just nothing personal. Just him going around. He meets the weirdest cartel guys, and he just shrugs his shoulders like, "What am I gonna do?"
Oh yeah,
yeah, that'd be great.
Does everybody want to pick a favorite part from Terminator 2?
Oh yeah, I'll go first.
Go ahead. You're the guest.
Thank you. I have a tie actually. I mean, one of my. Obviously, everybody loves the Cyberdyne Showdown. So it's between that and then everything from the Galleria scene to the motorcycle chase scene. That's like my favorite. I mean, like the soundtrack, like the action, and just like him revolving the shotgun and.
When he first breaks into Cyberdyne, I like how he's just getting the key card and he says, "Please."
But this whole thing with the Galleria, just when it starts to ramp to slow motion and he steps on the roses as he's walking,
yes,
leading up to the revelation that
you think he's here to kill John, and you're like,
he's a murderer.
Yeah,
where's Chris Hansen? And then the climax, I remember rewind to 1991, and you're seeing like. You know, the T-1000 and the T-800 finally meeting each other for the first time, and you know, back then you're like, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, and then all of a sudden you hear "get down," and then like you know, that's kind of like changed everything up. Like, come on! But
by the way, I need a copy of your shirt. By the way, what is it? He's a judge. Don't bump myself. He's taking a selfie. Okay, I thought he was. I thought that was a gavel.
That's a good idea, but but it's like everything from that moment, like you would say, like you're building that momentum and that motorcycle chase.
And I can't stand how snobs like to make fun of how they're about to bust through a plastics, you know, set. I'm like, you didn't notice that the first 50 times you watched the movie, dude. Why do people want to ruin our good movies? I don't care that you can see a plane in the background of Gladiator. It's still a damn good movie.
But yeah, it's a mixture of those two for Terminator 2. But that's kind of like, yeah.
I mean, that's how you should open up a movie. You know, We've just gotten past the biker bar. This is
That's good shit. Yeah, biker bar is my favorite, easily. Too fucking funny.
It's even funnier when you see the making of behind the scenes. It's like, no, Arnold's wearing a towel. You know, he's not.
Oh.
He's wearing some shorts and he's shaking his little
right.
When I saw that in the theater the first time with an audience that had it was opening night, I think.
Oh man!
As soon as it's such an overplayed song, the George Thurgood song is so overplayed. But as soon as that banana came in, audience lost their shit laughing. Everyone loved it, and people were like, "Woo!"
Because it's kind of sad and satirical. It's just like a stranger coming into town, and he's not here for the reason you think. You know,
nobody was expecting.
But he's bad to the bone, literally.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike, you got a moment from T2?
Yeah, I kind of reiterating when the way they have Sarah figure out that he's good now, or he's not the same. He's not the bad Terminator.
Oh, perfect.
He quotes Kyle. He says, "Come with me if you want to live."
Yes.
Yeah.
And that I rewatching it and realizing that John Connor and Kyle Reese had a relationship before he sent him back, and then for John Connor to then say to Kyle Reese, "Tell her, come with me if you want to live."
Yes.
And then in reprogramming the Terminator, tell her, "Come with me if you want to live," or something where maybe Sarah said to young John, "Your father told me, come with me if you want to live." Just whatever it was that went into John Connor's head, that's the thing the Terminator should say.
Yes.
Come with me if you want to live.
That's great writing in the way they.
It's wonderful.
The way they did in the movie. Yeah.
So I got a tie between when the T-800's first breaking into the psych ward. You know, he non-lethally caps one of the guards in the leg, and John is freaking out. Oh my god! No, don't kill him! I'm like, and he just looks to him. He's fine.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline MSNBC.
Yeah, there you go. They should do a parody of that, but it's a tie between that and when the gas truck hits at the end of the factory, and you see the guy running the place. Get there! I just love how it's still acknowledging all the people in the world. They're like, I don't know what's happening right now, but we're fucking evacuating. This is not our fight. I just love that it acknowledges the whole reality. Instead of just every human that you see is just a target. It's the showing the atmosphere that Jack hinted at earlier. Gil, do you have a moment?
Some have already been mentioned, but I'm going to stick with.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I'm going to go with something like when Sarah Connor, John Connor, and Arnie are all running away from the other Terminator together. They're actually acting like a unit, like a well-trained unit, running away from this. And I really love that part.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, we can kind of just put all the rest in just one big corner, just one moment that stands out.
The moment that Mike picked is one that I always look forward to every time I watch the movie, which is that Sarah Connor is working to escape from the mental institution.
Yes.
And she's almost out. And then an elevator opens and her worst nightmare walks out of the elevator.
Yes.
And it's so
great.
Oh God. And she collapses. She collapses. Don't give that guy any press. She drops to her knees and screams and runs up. I love that part so much, but it's the one that I said before, which is, and also on the extended version, they almost tip it too much, where they have the T-1000 starts glitching, which is cool.
Yeah.
But before John runs away, he looks down at Sarah Connor's feet, and they're blending into the catwalk that he's standing on. So that's how he knows that which one is which.
Mm-hmm.
I love that in the theatrical version, he doesn't need to look down. He knows that the weak, "Help me, John" one isn't his mom. The one that steps out with a gun and says,
I never thought about that, but that is a clear differentiation. That
steps out and she says "Run, John," or something like that, and he gets out of the way. Oh my God, I'm getting chills. bam, one-armed, do it like, because her shoulder's out and she's doing the one-arm thing. The music builds, and I love it.
Well, that whole thing where she's going, help me, John, help me, and I'm like sitting there going, he knows better than that.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be doing that.
But the T1000 doesn't know that he knows better than that.
He doesn't know. He's just an AI. Yeah. So 2 good moments of T3. How about just that opening? You're seeing him narrate while he's on a motorcycle, and then the narration, the minute the whole shit storm stops, he wrecks his bike, and that starts the precedence for I got to get drugs to heal the pain. But I just love how you don't expect that. It gets you in the movie. You're like, okay, whoa, he's still on the run. Mom is dead. He's been looking out. He's tired of people arresting him or saying he's a crazy guy they used to know at high school. But how about the moment where Brewster's dad is about to push the button? She's like, no, don't push the button. And then the TX comes in, shoots him, and she presses it while everyone's getting their shit together. It's like, that's awesome. I'm sorry. Like, she's not waiting permission to start the thing that activated her in the first place. I just think it's a great foreshadow to all the other human genocide that's about to happen. And like you said before, unlike other movies, I never feel like, trust me, I've had my share of seeing certain Transformers or Avengers movies where I feel like they were insensitive. It was a Roland Emmerich movie. It's like, okay, that's pretty insensitive to all the millions of people who are about to get fucked up and die. And it's like, whenever someone dies in these movies, I do feel like they all handle it with care. It is like, okay, there's enough build up. I know that not everyone is going to be a victim. I know that everyone is also vulnerable. The bad guy's even vulnerable. He shuts down at times. So there's some suspense. That's what kills the predictability.
No speaking part in that, in especially those first 2 movies, is cannon fodder.
No,
everybody's. But I gotta tell you, man, the ending of Terminator 3 is the last time I think that series was really ballsy.
Yeah,
I think the ending of Terminator 3 is really good.
That's because it doesn't end.
Gotta go there too. So,
Well, I mean, it has the one thing where it has the one thing where it's leading. It's saying, it's inevitable. It's gonna happen.
And they hate him even more.
So it just
They're
happens.
like, why didn't you tell us that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait a
man.
minute. What comic played on that?
Was it Chris Hardwick?
No, comic book.
Oh, I thought you said comic, like stand-up.
No,
he's in the 3rd movie.
He is in the 3rd one, yeah.
No, there was a comic that. Wait, I read that. There's a Terminator comic that follows T3, and I can't remember which one it was.
I think I know recently. Actually. It is pretty recent. It's weird. They were like, we could only follow the events of T2, but we're throwing in T3 kind of acknowledgement.
What the hell was that one?
It was
not
I think,
Kill Human. It was the other one.
It's been decades since I read like The Burning Earth. That was like Alex Ross's first.
Yeah.
One of his first like artistic or artist. I think.
Absolutely. Okay, so it was Infinity and Revolution is what you're thinking of.
Infinity.
By Dynamite.
Yeah, that was good shit. I love that one.
Yes, it was. It even blows your mind how many of these predate T2, and it's pretty easy to get people on board. What is this whole saga about? And I think this is why this has united you guys as movie geeks, why you've been involved in parts of entertainment. And I applaud you, Shahi. You got to actually meet the legend himself, and that's an experience. But that's an experience you'll never forget. I know you asked him a bunch of cool questions, but let's say you were just so excited, sharing your pants. Oh my god, you would not forget that, because you can't describe this man. He can't describe himself. That's how larger than life he is.
I'm very blessed and honored to be, part of the Arnold fans. Like Randy, he started that fan club back in 90.
Before the internet was really taken off.
Exactly. Yeah. There's only 2 Arnold
We had
sites.
forums, but we didn't have what we have.
But I think every year when I go to Columbus, Ohio, and I see Arnold in person, I mean, it's awesome. I think what it is just I get to see my idol every year, and it's cool. Like, and then my wife, she's a Stallone fan, and she hasn't met Stallone yet, so she gets jealous of my my Arnoldness. But yeah, but I mean, there's nobody larger than life than Arnold, just flat out. Like, with
and
everything.
he's generational too, which is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, shaking his hand, having a quick conversation, or just asking him some questions, and going to his office in Santa Monica a few years ago, getting a tour of that and holding an original Conan sword. I mean, that was all like awesome and fantastic. But it's he's like you were saying earlier, Cam, that it's like he's nonstop. So whether it be movies, or politics, or fitness or anything, he's just nonstop. Like, I mean, I think he doesn't. I think he, he doesn't sleep. I think he says if you sleep more than 6 hours to 8 hours, I suggest you sleep faster. That's what he says.
That's a great advice.
Fun fact:
Don't
Columbus,
get comfortable.
Ohio.
Get comfortable faster.
Yeah, fun fact: Columbus, Ohio, is actually named after Franco Columbo. And before then, it was Ole Thortzen, Ohio.
Ole Thortzen.
Yeah,
I mean, that sounds like a bad porno. Oh, let's go. Ole Thortzen.
Thorsten is the guy who gets beat up in most of his movies, but somehow it didn't make it into this franchise. I don't know how.
He's the stunt guy for Arnold, isn't he?
No, I think they were just bodybuilding friends.
No.
I think Columbo was his stand-in. But they're all just bodybuilding friends. Sven Ole Thorsen just sort of shows up in his movies as an actor.
Yeah, Peter Kent is the one who does the stunt doubling for him, and he's on a hysterical episode of Psych, and they actually mention that, like, hey, what's this Arnold looking like doing here?
And then they're working on Peter Kent. I interviewed him. I think
great guy, right?
Ago. Really nice guy.
So fucking smart. And I had to unfriend some guys. I'm part of some stunt groups, and I saw some guys who were smack talking. I'm like, he didn't get his stunt card the right way. I'm like, are you jealous much? What am I missing here? Did you meet him at a convention? He pissed you off? What the hell, dude?
Right? But I think they're working on a film. It's called Thrill Seekers.
Whoa!
So I'm not sure if you heard of that. So it has to do with like his like.
I'm a fan. I love his 2 Stargate appearances. He's just and the fact that and how he got the role was just by saying yes to everything. It's literally it. He's like, I can do that. And then James almost wanted to kill him when he found out he didn't have his stunt certificate.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like I could have been sued had I known. But
as somebody,
see why you did that.
As somebody who's never met Arnold and might never meet, like, you never know, but like as someone,
I've never met anybody famous.
You're a better director than any of us will ever be, so give yourself some credit.
Shaw. But like, as someone who has never met him, I just have to ask, what is the energy when you actually talk to that guy?
Infectious, I bet.
Very good question. So I mean, every for me and also other people, when you talk to him, he solely focuses on you, and that's it. So it's like great. It's like this aura. It's like I can't explain it, but it's just like his full attention's 110%.
He really does have his eyes on you. Targets acquired.
So that's just kind of like when he's talking to you, that's kind of like the vibe you get. But also, like, if you have the pump, if you join the pump club. He actually responds to people too within the Pump Club chat. So we talk about a lot of things, not just health and fitness. We'll talk about movies or anything like that. But it's just that vibe. Like, and then when you're in the room with him, his presence is there. Like, you just know it. But that's so. Like, I mean, I would say, Jack, one day, I would say I'm gonna be positive that hopefully each of you guys actually get to meet Arnold.
I'd love to.
And
I saw there was a recent convention they did where Loken, Patrick, Arnold, and Furlong were all at sometime this year, I think. Yeah.
If I do meet him, I'll make sure I send you the picture. It's gonna be like the picture and Say Anything. Like, he'll be standing there and I'll just be in the background like
no boombox required. Perfect. Yeah.
That quality that you talk about, though, that's sort of like feeling like he's giving you personal attention. I have found that is a common thread in the really big, like the handful of A-list movie stars that I've met. It almost feels like a tractor beam of their charisma that that they send to you, and you feel. I think that's why people like that are movie stars. They know, and they know how to make you comfortable with it by sort of allowing you to enter into it.
Anyone who I've been fortunate enough to interview, yourself included, like if it was in any other time, I would be like, oh my God, I'd be fangirling. But when you only have them,
oh my God, I can't be children.
And you have to live a really lame life to fangirl over me, my friend. I'm just saying.
Either way, I did that with Jay Uger, who hosts the Young Turks. That was dynamite.
Sure, yeah.
I wanted to. There's still 50 other questions I wanted to ask him. But I didn't have time. Was not on my side. I only had 60 minutes, so I had to go off book and stay on book, and then still looking him in the eye. You know, what will I regret if I do not ask him, while acknowledging what he has done? That's what I really want to do. I don't want it to just be, I ask you questions until my head explodes and you prompt your socials. You know, it's just, but it's not easy to do, because like Shahi has just summed
that's
up.
How everybody, that's how everybody
that energy. It's a transporter beam. You're like, oh.
I can do that. That's easy.
and once it's gone, you're like, oh, put it back. You know, there's a reason people are power and greedy. You know, it's like it's a wonderful sensation.
Do you ever have that moment though where you're having a conversation, you realize you're talking twice as fast because you're trying to get so much in?
Yeah.
There's gonna be
I know you're just standing in line for the bathroom, but you know.
I know you gotta take a shit. Hold on, wait. I gotta ask you a quick question. Let me give you the TP. Hold on.
I know you've been asked this fucking stupid question a million times, but maybe if
I'll be here when you get out.
You need a courtesy flush? Let me help you.
I've had a few. Joke around with Walter Koenig and George Takei.
Wow.
Yes, there's very recent.
They both signed my copy of Rathacon.
Yeah.
Walter Koenig, I told him he had one of the best screams in pop culture history, and he goes, "Yeah, they gave me an Emmy award for that." And George Takei, I said I liked him in Miami Vice. He says, "Oh yes, I stole Melanie Griffith from Don Johnson during that." So that, but right away they're doing a joke with you, which is really fun. And Dana Gould was fun to meet too. I felt like
Dana's great.
There's a reason he's a great writer. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dana's one of those guys who wants to have that conversation with you. He wants to talk to you about.
He's a nerd just like us. Yeah.
I love that. By the way, speaking of Walter, go ahead.
I told him I've been a fan of it ever since I saw his HBO special where he does the "You're Alone" joke. He says, "Yeah, but that was Showtime." It was so perfect because he knew what I was talking about and he corrected me on it.
He doesn't just forget about all the shit people are going to ask.
Right.
That's great.
So that was nice.
I've had a few pictures taken with some, celebrities and stuff, and I feel very self-conscious about invading their personal space.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, I'll be in the picture, but I'm not quite touching them, or something like that.
I'm sure they appreciate
some
that.
Celebrity autographs.
I had C. Thomas Howell, and I was joking around with what he could do next, and he's like, "Guess who wants to be my agent?" And it's so fun. I love seeing him prank around. You need that. You need someone who can laugh at yourself, as opposed to someone who just gives you the death stare, where you're like, "Leave, no."
By the way, speaking of Walter Koenig, which I know that was a couple of celebrities ago, but
don't you mean Bester from B5? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But speaking of him, I got to say that when I watched Terminator Salvation, the biggest impression for me was dear departed Anton Yelchin, who I think was actually kind of terrific in that movie. Surprisingly,
great.
Him like a teenage Kyle Reese, and
never
really
gave anyone any trouble. He was a professional.
Yeah.
I liked his rendition of playing Chekhov for Star Trek.
He didn't overdo it, and he added the same amount of talking about the coordinates. Yeah,
and he was terrific in Troll Hunters on Netflix.
Oh, nice!
He did a voice for that. Wow.
I believe his parents are Russian or Ukrainian. So he's doing their accent. He's doing some family member's accent in so rather than doing Walter Koenig's Russian accent, he's doing an actual Russian accent.
Yeah. Hey, this has been a dynamite chat, y'all. Like this was a decimation. This was dynamite. You're always welcome back, Jack. Shahi, you always rock this. Gil and Mike, always dynamite. Oreo, We're gonna do another geeky chat. Well, we will talk again soon because, like, again, hopefully we all created this infectious energy and created our own cool resistance force.
You have to use the right quote. It's "I'll be back."
I just can't top Arnold, so I don't try.
He'll live.
But now, I
stick around. Oh wait, no, that's different.
Yeah,
Stick
I like
around.
you. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
People who really love Commando always love to tell me to let off some steam, and I'm always happy to hear it.
I remember when I met Cam, I said Sully. You know what I told you?
Sully, yes.
I lied.
I instantly saw your eyes turn red, like you were targeting my face. I'm like, oh shit.
Somebody I work with, I drive a Toyota Matrix, and he walked up to my car with me. He said, "This is your car?" And I said, "Yeah." And he went, "Bennett Matrix."
Yeah.
I didn't realize my car was a Commando reference the whole time.
When I did valet, there was a guy who once drove up and had a T-free car.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was merchandise and everything, and he hadn't sold it somehow in 2017. I'm like, get the fuck out. What? How much is that car worth? Always a delight, y'all. I gotta go to my job. Otherwise, Skynet's gonna put out a hit on me. Seriously, always a delight. I'll keep you updated on when it hits, and live long and be on the run.
See you later,
running man.
Right.
Pleasure talking to you guys.
Always great. Thank you.
See you guys.
Take care.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a jacked up